Chairman's Award for the first U.S. First Award, the Xerox Corporation and Joseph C. Wilson Magnet School of Rochester, New York.
They call themselves the X-Cats.
And the effort that they put in was just staggering.
Students from Rochester's Joseph C. Wilson Magnet High School and professionals from Xerox Corporation.
Somebody's got to get the message out to kids.
Working and learning side by side.
They're right on the floor with the pros.
In a competition that honors teamwork and partnership above all.
And we're learning from each other.
This is the behind-the-scenes story of the Wilson Xerox team.
Some conflict, stress, there's negotiation.
And their quest for the top prize.
And the time pressure is unrelenting.
The Chairman's Award at the 1994 U.S. First National Engineering and Design Competition. It began with the new year. Early in January, 50 students from Wilson High School, a handful of teachers, and 35 volunteers from Xerox gathered in this warehouse on Humboldt Street. They came to learn the details of the 1994 U.S. First competition. Like 43 other teams across the country, they would begin with a challenge: to build a radio-controlled vehicle to compete in a game of engineering skill and competitive strategy.
You're given a set of boundaries. You're told how big the vehicle can be, how much it can weigh. You're given a set of parts, and you're given a time constraint, and you're given the rules of the game. And then you have 6 weeks to deliver. In essence, it's a mind sport, and in most sports, somebody wins, somebody loses, but in this one, everybody wins.
I think before 2 years ago, my first year of US First, I really didn't know what I wanted to be at all. And then I got into US First, and it just, the planning and the building and all the engineering work of building something was really interesting.
And hopefully this will influence them not only to finish high school, but also to go to college and do some other kinds of things in terms of a technical field.
The name U.S. First is an acronym for Inspiration and Recognition of Science and Technology. This partnership brings students together with engineers, technicians, teachers, and other professionals in an activity that simulates many of the same challenges that a business might face when developing a new product.
We had to take about 1,000 or more brainstorm concepts from the first day and pare them down into a vehicle that was integrated and worked together and flexible and competitive to win the competition this year.
Kids love sports. They get enthused about it. But in the sports context, it's like the students being on the playing field with a professional athlete. They're right on the floor with the pros. They see the challenge of an engineering kind of job. They see the excitement of it. They see the reward of completion of a project, and they get the thrill of seeing their product, if you will, perform. And it's a very exciting experience for them.
U.S. First is the brainchild of Dean Kamen, a self-made millionaire, entrepreneur, and inventor. As president of a medical instruments research and development company in Manchester, New Hampshire, he's seen how professional sports and popular culture can capture the imagination. According to Dean Kamen, bringing that same excitement to science and technology is vital.
Somebody's got to get the message out to kids, particularly to kids, but to the whole country, but somebody's got to get the message out to kids that it is essential for their standard of living, for the future of this country, for them to do as well at math and at science and at technology as at football and basketball, and that it is unlikely that they will make a living as a rock star or a sports hero. It is very likely they'll be able to sustain a high standard of living and improve their quality of life by being competent particularly in technical areas as we move into the next century, and nobody shows them that. When these kids get involved with these engineers and these companies, and they see these people getting really excited about being able to do what they do, the kids get excited by it. And now the kids have some adult role models besides Michael Jordan, people that they actually can know and emulate, and people that They can feel like if I study, if I can learn to understand what he just told me he did, he figured out torque by multiplying a force times a distance, and he figured out an angle by using trigonometry. You make all this stuff relevant.
The initial U.S. First competition was held in 1992. Wilson High and Xerox teamed up to bring home the very first Chairman's Award, recognition for their superior partnership. Their accomplishment won acclaim from the highest levels of business, education, and government. In 1993, Wilson and Xerox joined forces again. And though their efforts failed to win the top award, their remarkable team spirit shone through. This year, the XCats once again set out to capture the Chairman's Award and create an extraordinary learning experience for every member of the team.
I like it. I like US First. I like the engineers that I work with. I like the students. Even though it's Saturdays, it's fun. It's not like we come here and it's not school. You know, it's hands-on things, and I learn better with hands-on things.
I thought the engineers were just here or to get us interested in it, and they really knew it all. But this year I found that they really don't know everything, that like my ideas count.
I got involved in US First because my son Matt had been a participant over the past 3 years now, and 2 years ago I saw a big change in him as he participated in US First. Feeling excited about contributing, knowing that you have value, knowing that you can make a difference, and giving yourself 100% all of the time. And those are the kinds of things I saw Matt showing when he participated in US First. And as I began to participate, I felt the exact same way.
And the number of kids that got involved and the spirit in which the engineers and the kids participated, and the fact that these kids came up a learning curve in 5 or 6 weeks, some of them never knowing what an engineer is and thinking that he's the guy that drives the train, to realizing that, wow, engineers, you need to know algebra and trigonometry and a few other things, but once you know that, these guys can take a pile of parts and a pile of motors and put them together and do this exciting thing.
US First is fun. It's rewarding, but it's also hard work. The tension of preparing for national competition is always a factor.
And the time pressure is unrelenting. There is no forgiveness. If you don't complete your project on time, you can't win, you can't even play. You're absolutely dead in the water.
With just 1 week to go before the competition, the Wilson Xerox XCats have yet to test a completed vehicle. Their hopes for victory on the playing field rest on the strength of their engineering, their game strategy, and their teamwork. Across the country, scenes like this are repeated as corporations and universities join with their high school partners in final preparations for the US First competition. The Wilson Xerox XCats will face teams sponsored by AT&T, Boeing, Procter & Gamble, among others. In all, there are 44 teams, including a strong competitor much closer to home. Eastman Kodak and its partner Edison Tech have also discovered the benefits of US First.
A couple of students that participated in this last year with Kodak went on to college. One of those students had planned on dropping out of high school in his senior year, and because of the experience, he said it showed him that he had a future in engineering, and he's participating at MCC right now in the technology program.
Well, this has proven to be a large extension to the classroom, one that we cannot provide, of course. It's expanded our shops out into the work world, the interaction with people that are professionals in the fields, the designers, the engineers, the machinists, or people in various phases of manufacturing. We don't often have a chance for that kind of exposure, so this has added that to our programs and has brought great value to all the programs in our mechanical areas.
For Rochester, with its tradition of leadership in technology and education, US First is a natural. Educators and community leaders alike are quick to recognize the value of the program.
Without the support of business and people in this community, we'd be in tough shape in the sense that we simply could not provide the kinds of services and connections that are necessary for our young people. When we talk about reforming public education, the mistake is to focus solely on reforming schools. When you reform education for young people in this community, you have to more or less reform the community. You have to look at all institutions, and yes, reform schools, but within the context of a larger transformation within a community. That everyone in the community serves a role with regard to the education of young people.
It's a host of benefits that accrue, I think, to not only the employers who do this, but to the whole community. Anything that we can do to stimulate kids both to stay in school, get their diplomas, and hopefully create the kinds of incentives you want to see that will stimulate them to go on for more advanced training is very positive. These kinds of efforts really will help establish a relationship between curriculum development and what's really needed 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now in the workforce.
So I think that these kind of experiences are absolutely critical to the overall health and stability of our community. And I would encourage all companies, whether they are multinational giants like a Xerox or Kodak or Bosch and Lomb, or whether they're small or medium-sized companies, I think everybody ought to make some time available to do this. There are too many young people who grow up without the kind of positive role modeling that we believe is essential to their overall development. I don't care how good a family background the kid comes from. I found that it is true that there are adults who can establish a meaningful relationship and get through to kids sometime when their own parents cannot.
Those kids that believe their way out is sports, those kids that see as their role models, minorities and others, sports figures or entertainment figures, they see it every day. They see it masterfully laid out at $1 million a minute on network television. Where do they see a role model who's an engineer or scientist? You ask a kid, any kid, even from the quality schools, tell me the name of a baseball player, a basketball player, a rock star, and then say to him, tell me the name of a famous living engineer. Tell me the name of a famous scientist. Who invented the CAT scanner? You all know who won the Super Bowl. Who's winning the race to the superconductor at room temperature? The fact is, U.S. First, I think, is needed because it's not yet another scholarship program or yet another educational program to give supply. There's plenty of supply. What there is a lack of in this country, and it's been created, I think, by our culture, by big business, by network television. What there's a lack of is demand for excellence.
You know, we may not be famous people or anything, but we're engineers in the community and non-engineers, professionals in the community that are working with the students, you know, showing them what we do. If they're interested in it, then they can pursue a career. At U.S. First, they get exposed to all aspects of things, the finance, the human resource, public relations, just to see what it is. Because when you're in high school and someone says, you know, why don't you be an engineer? You're like, well, what do engineers do? And we show them that.
You take one of these students and let's say they become successful as an engineer or a scientist or whatever, a businessman. They also learn that they can give something back to the community that they came from. We have students who not only are learning about engineering, but they're also learning about interactions with people. I mean, going through this project, there's a lot of, there's some times when there's stress, there's some times when there's negotiation, there's some conflict. So these are a lot of skills that you really don't pick up at school. You really pick up on the job. How do you deal with people? How do you work as a team? How do you negotiate, make decisions? How do you all work together for a common goal?
We didn't want the best and the brightest only. We wanted to include students that were having trouble in school, students who hadn't decided yet what they were going to do with their lives.
The choice of Wilson Magnet High School as a partner was a deliberate one for Xerox.
We didn't go to our suburban schools either, okay? We picked an inner city school where many times the opportunities for this kind of program are not readily available to these students. So now they've been given a chance to take responsibility, and they've met the challenges of that responsibility, and all of a sudden, I can do it. And I think that gives them a sense of accomplishment, a sense of self-esteem. They understand that they can commit to something and make it happen. And in fact, they can produce something. And they've done all of those things.
It's important that we continue letting their minds flower and letting them explore what they can and cannot do. And I think the program is a very good vehicle for that. And we're learning from each other, and we're learning from the kids as much as the kids are learning from us.
This is a perfect, almost living experiment in design, time to market, getting products out faster, better, smarter, and so forth. And I think the engineers, myself included, come away with as much, if not more, than some of the students do.
The last weekend in February arrives, and the team travels to Nashua, New Hampshire for 2 days of competition. In all, they've logged nearly 4,000 hours designing and building their vehicle. Each hour bringing them closer to their goal of winning the Chairman's Award for yet another superior partnership. But the number of teams has doubled since their first win 2 years earlier. Competition for the top prize is tougher than ever. Victory by no means assured. And as time for the final announcement draws near, the anticipation grows.
They've been helping set the standards for 3 years. They won the chairmanship the first year, and they've been just a terrific part of this each year since. The one to which we gave the Chairman's Award this time, it's a repeat to the standard setter, Xerox. And Xerox and Wilson.
The Chairman's Award, having won that, was really the frosting on the cake. We felt, and I certainly felt, that we had already won the equivalent of the Chairman's Award by virtue of having accomplished all the things that we set out to do, namely have the students and engineers get together, intermingle, interact. They're learning something about engineering, they're learning something about teamwork, they're learning about what it takes in terms of discipline and commitment to a project. We were a winner before we went to New Hampshire. The Chairman's Award really was extra. It was extra, and it certainly pleased me a great deal, but if we had not won it, we still were winners.
The effort that they put in to getting kids involved from the Wilson Magnet School was just staggering. And when those kids came to that competition, their energy level was so high, their intensity was, it was like they had spent a lifetime becoming a professional athlete. And here they were, just learning how to become a professional thinker, a professional creative person.
Both the U.S. First organization as well as the Xerox Wilson team has grown significantly year over year. And that's great. I mean, that's the best thing that could happen. A lot of students, I think, that have friends that are on the team this year are going to want to do it next year, so I have a feeling next year's team is going to be even bigger.
The U.S. First experience, I think many of us, maybe all of us, felt like we were part of a family there. You go over to the Humboldt Street site now, and it's cold now. It had so much warmth for the 7 weeks. We had things all over the walls, and the pictures are all gone, and we're not there anymore, but it's not something you're going to forget.
The U.S. First experience changed the lives of all its participants. The Wilson High School students who saw how the math and science principles they learn in school come to life in meeting and engineering challenge. The Xerox professionals who volunteered their time and talent, and in the process themselves gained insights into team building and product development. The parents, teachers, and school administrators who worked so intently to encourage every youngster's natural curiosity and enthusiasm.
I strongly believe that every one of us will carry with us part of the 1994 U.S. First for forever.
Dean Kamen's goal for U.S. First is to help students choose opportunities in science and technology that they might otherwise miss. That idea is eloquently expressed in a classic Robert Frost poem. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. In choosing the road that follows a tradition of community involvement in education, U.S. First participants can truly say that their choice has made all the difference.